Welcome to A7FL in Motion. I'm Matt Ryan, and this week we prepare for the opening round of the 2025 A7FL Playoffs as 4 teams look to move on, and 4 teams will find themselves joining us watching on TV. In this half hour, we will get you prepared for the Watchmen's battle with the Patterson U in Baltimore as the U travel as a bottom 5 seed for the first time in modern A7FL history. The Virginia Heathens travel up to Asbury Park to face the Animals, who rely on Chris Johnson one more week to prepare David Tender for what may come after Memorial Day. The Renegades play host to the QC Crush, who look to survive and get a measure of revenge following their initial meeting during the regular season. Plus a look at the Hawks in the BIC and an update of what's going on out west. But before we get things in motion, we've got to head down to Baltimore as John Gauze and the Watchmen in the 3 seed face off against the number 6 seed Patterson U this week in Baltimore to throw off the A7FL playoffs. When looking at this game, we first look at the Watchmen offense. A lot is weighing on who will be the man behind center. Will it be John Gauze Jr.? Will it be Roquan Chaney as the Watchmen continue their quarterback by committee for the 3rd straight season? For the Watchmen, a loss would extend Baltimore's championship drought to 7 seasons, dating back to when the Baltimore Gators won an all-Baltimore championship back in 2018.
So Vikings called the timeout. There's 1:27 left in the ball game, ladies and gentlemen. Jamel Mason, he could do it. Oh, wow! 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 I can't believe it. A storybook ended. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it, sir. I can't believe it. Oh, my God. I can't believe it, sir. Your thoughts, sir.
Great play. Defense wins championship.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
On a team full of A7FL veterans, not only a quarterback, but one of the most dynamic returners in A7FL history, Marcellus Pack, a dominant all-decade player at both tight end and on defense, Nick Mean Machine Mays, and players like Keith Salmon Jr. and Angelo Lewis Jr., who were linchpins in Charm City throughout the 11 seasons of the A7FL. For them, it is championship or bust. Another major factor for Baltimore is a man who, much like Mays and Lewis Jr., spent a fair amount of time in a Patterson U uniform the last few seasons, Carlos Opie Crosland, who in limited action this season for the Watchmen has been an unquantifiable X factor for Baltimore on offense, defense, and even in a pinch at quarterback. For Patterson, it has been 3 seasons since their last appearance in an A7FL championship game, and 4 since Big Rob Fabian retired, with an undefeated Patterson U going back-to-back.
And I'm here with the 2021 A7FL champions. I'm joined here with presumptive, and let's be honest, he's going to be MVP of this league. We know how unselfish you are, Huff. I had to fight him to get him to stand here. But tell me how this feels after a great season.
It felt good after all the doubters said we couldn't do it, but people don't know we ain't lose a game since 2019. We number 1 in the nation. We with whatever.
You guys came out here and played a tough BIC team. You demolished teams from Baltimore, from Florida. You played California. I guaranteed you win. What message do you have now that the 2021 championship over here, brought to you by Herff Jones, is going to be handed over to you going into next year, 2022?
We don't have no message. We the champions.
In that time, we've seen Quattrell Huffin go from unbreakable to an animal to back-to-back seasons on the injured list, leaving Ryan Shamar and the multi-time champions with more questions than answers at the most important position in not only the A7FL, but in football, the starting quarterback position. In 2025, it has been Kareem Williams taking the majority of snaps in place of the elder Huffin, who now sees his brother Waleek walk into what is the hardest game to call in our opening round of the playoffs. Two teams that were labeled championship contenders off reputation alone walking into 2025 have fallen short against both the defending Eastern Conference champion Trenton BIC and a team riding high and surging in 2025, the Silk City Animals, who come into this playoffs at the 2 seed, and after a quixotic regular season, now find themselves against more than formidable competition to throw off our annual tournament. For Patterson to be successful, we will need to see the balance shown by the U's offenses of old, playing off the depth of their running backs and talented wideouts. But with age being a factor at both tailback, offensive line, and wideout, can the Patterson U's shut the door on Baltimore, knowing that they will most likely face the Trenton BIC on the other side of Memorial Day? Can Baltimore turn what may be their lone playoff game, their lone home playoff game, into the thing that they need to get on a run and rewrite history? Or will Baltimore survive the ride down I-95 and prepare for another rivalry game in round 2? When we return here on A7FL in Motion, we break down the Animals and the Heathens, the Crush battling the Renegades, and also the Hawks and BIC opening up the Eastern Conference playoffs. That and so much more on A7FL in Motion. Welcome back to A7FL in Motion. I'm your host, Matt Ryan. No, not that one. The other one. No, not that one. The other one. And this is our look at the opening round of the A7FL's Eastern Conference playoffs, which throw off this Sunday. If you're watching on Fight, Triller, DAZN, Fox Soul, Fox Houston, or anywhere else in the grand expanse of the universe, you can find times and more information for games live or on demand at a7fl.com and a7fl.com/watch. In our first of 2 live games this Sunday from Asbury Park, the Virginia Heathens, in their first season, mark an important showdown as they drive up I-95 for their first ever A7FL playoff game to battle the surging Silk City Animals. For the Heathens, being the underdog is not a new thing for the first-year club, but with formidable USA Rugby star and captain Ryan Burrows at the helm, he proves that he truly can be the captain this team needs to show they're one of the best football teams in America. But despite Burrows' skills behind center and some veteran presence at running back and other positions, the Heathens have been pushed back more times than they would like in 2025. They want to shock the world and move on to the Eastern semifinals, but first they have to contend with one of the deepest rosters of pure talent in the league. Conversely, for the Silk City Animals, they walk into this Sunday potentially without their most dynamic weapon in quarterback David Tender. In his second A7FL season, Tender is one of the most dynamic weapons in the league. As I said before, he not only leads in yards per completion and yards per attempt in the Eastern Conference, but is currently the rushing leader in the conference. That's right, rushing leader. He has gained the most yards on the ground than anybody in the Eastern Conference heading into this Sunday, with 488 yards on the ground and third in average yards per carry. Losing that element at any position for your offense could be a killer unless you're the Animals. And you have Kasim Perry, Manny Diaz, who scored 4 touchdowns in a game against the BIC this past season. Rookie tight end Isaiah Gonzalez, who has been killing it not only as a tight end and a blocker, but also on defense coming off the defensive line, and we'll have more about that defense in a second. But we can't go talking about this Animals team without Kwani Morgan and Omari Thomas. The backfield for this team is scary. It is spooky. It is hilarious how they can put defenses on their back foot. Morgan, in his second season in the A7FL, one of the leading returners this season in the A7FL, and Omari Thomas, a name that, if you've been watching the A7FL, especially Baltimore games the last few seasons, you know how important he was to that Watchmen offense, and he has added a spark and a fire and a Baltimore beat to the Silk City Animals offense. But it will not be David Tender more than likely this Sunday playing behind center, as it will be Chris Johnson, who played behind the other and more famous Matt Ryan, who talks about football for money, while at Boston College. And he knows what it means to work with elite athletes. The reason he went to Boston College was to work and learn under guys like Matt Ryan to understand the elite athlete mindset. And when you're working with guys like Manny Diaz, Kasim Perry, and this young Animals core, having that level of veteran presence and having a guy who's been there, has played on Saturdays, and has been in big moments in this league before. So that's certainly going to help the Animals. It doesn't do a one-for-one change for what Tender can do with his legs and his arm, but having that kind of football IQ behind center will serve the Animals well this Sunday. But the Animals defense is also up to the challenge. Trey Baskerville coming over this past season. With his long limbs and athletic skills, he is a havoc wreaker on the defensive line, and he has certainly set up opportunities for Benny Jones' cousin, Axel Vega Rodriguez, and has put enough pressure for Rob Long to get 4 picks on the year and Jamar Wheeler to add 1 as well. This Animals defense does not play. They are not looking to play games. They are looking to show they have leveled up from last season on all sides of the ball. And after losing to the BIC by only 2 and taking it to the very end and getting their first ever wins, not only over the Baltimore Watchmen, but their crosstown rival, the Patterson U, after not even being able to do that with Quattrell Huffin behind center for the Animals. This is the biggest season in Silk City Animals history, and this Sunday, they take their first step forward in being a favorite for the first time in an A7FL playoff. That is weird. If you followed the A7FL for a long time, you know that the Tender, Rios, and Morgan effect is real. These Mustangs are ready to run, and when we return here on A7FL in Motion, I'll be breaking down the rest of this Eastern Conference playoff as we get you prepared for the QC Crush and the East Orange Renegades. We'll be back with more in just a moment. This is A7FL in Motion. Welcome back to our look at the opening round of the 2025 playoffs. I'm Matt Ryan, and our next matchup is our marquee game of the week in round 1 as the number 5 seed East Orange Renegades play host to the 6-seeded QC Crush. For the Crush, this is the biggest game in team history as they will mark their first ever out-of-state playoff game since joining the league 3 seasons ago. But does that mean that this team lacks talent with playoff experience? Not so much. Keno Thomas, Trey Brooks, and others on this QC roster have appeared in the Western Conference Finals 2 seasons ago and have played in the last few seasons in the A7FL, some of them against the Patterson U last year as members of the Covington Heist. But this Crush team is not a team that isn't afraid to wear the title of underdog. And it seems their new sense of confidence, a renewed sense of confidence coming from the Buckeye State, is from Keno Thomas and other players reaching out to Renegades defensive back Corey Price and making assurances that they plan on giving East Orange quarterback Anthony Service more than enough trouble in their matchup this Sunday. A lot of bravado, a lot of braggadocio coming from this QC Crush team who seem to think they have a couple of aces up their sleeves as they travel across into New Jersey this Sunday. But while they've shown flashes of talent and potential in 2025, for the Crush, this matchup may end up Sisyphusian as they roll the rock at the top of the hill one more time and see themselves chasing it down, as the Renegades have become one of the most talked about teams, not only amongst players and team management in the Eastern Conference, but amongst fans as a dark horse to make a run in the Eastern Conference playoffs. But either way, the Crush look to have short-term memory heading into this Sunday and turn that confidence into success against the stingiest team in the Eastern Conference. Statistically, the Renegades have gone from one of the most moribund teams in the league to one of the stoutest on both sides of the ball. A lot of that credit has to go to Ron Clark, a guy who knows this league better than almost anyone, not only as an all-decade defensive back, but also as someone who's filmed this league and has trolled the sidelines the last few years, scouting for talent, but not just there. He has spent the last few years filming and working with some of the biggest tournaments in flag football, developing connections with some of the best players in New Jersey and up and down the East Coast, and with Turn Me Up, one of the more elite flag teams in the country, full of dynamic athletes coming over to this Renegades roster. This brings a new level of experience and a new level of weaponry for this team that for the last few years relied primarily on DeAndre Haynes to carry the load for them offensively and defensively. And whether it's first-year quarterback and the man who holds the record for touchdown passes at his alma mater, Western New England, Anthony Service, or Damon Small, who has been a standout on both sides of the ball, whether at defensive end or as wide receiver, slot receiver, running back, this guy has done everything for this Renegades team to make them one of the best in the A7FL. While they're not top 5 in scoring, the Renegades are the third stingiest team in the A7FL and at the top of the Eastern Conference, with the closest team in terms of allowing points have given up 34 more than the Renegades have this season. They are the only team in the Eastern Conference to not give up more than 100 points on the season. So that Renegades defense means business. They hold teams to the letter. So far this season, the only team that has really been able to get a lot of points on them were the Trenton BIC in week 1. They put up 40, but ever since then, the team that's gotten the closest is the Baltimore Watchmen. They only scored 25 in an overtime thriller against the Renegades this past season. You know what? Let's take a look back to how that game ended.
Gauze hands it off. He keeps it to throw. Caught!
I knew it. Discipline.
Aubrey Minor with the tutty. Here we go. Gauze with the one-pointer. The pressure rolls out to his right. Can he get there? The throw. He's open. Baltimore wins it. Baltimore wins it in overtime.
But the Renegades look to replicate their Week 5 win over the Crush, where Service and company would allow only one touchdown. Just one. But that one touchdown would make A7FL history.
Snap. Thomas launches this one. Caught! First down, Queen City.
Oh, keep running. Keep
the ball
running.
He wasn't
He's
touched.
Never touched down.
He's
keep
live.
running.
Von Hicks, slip, slide from 97 and a half
That's a
yards
touchdown.
away.
He was never touchdown. That's
Crush.
a touchdown. Big
If you're
play.
watching on Fox Soul, DAZN internationally, or Triller TV Plus Fight 24/7, you are going to be able to catch this game live at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, Sunday, May 18th. And if you want to watch A7FL in motion or the A7FL playoffs live or on demand, you can join us at a7fl.com/watch for more information. When we continue here on A7FL in motion, we go back and take a look at our early game. A game so early it'll be decided before you see this, but after we tape it. It's the BIC Hawks and a look at the Nevada Knockout when we are back here on A7FL in motion. Welcome back to the A7FL in motion playoff preview, and as we end the travels here, we invite you to join us on social media. Search the A7FL on your favorite platform and catch highlights, scores, and more today. That's A7FL on your favorite social media platform. Our early matchup throws off our playoff slate as the number 1 seed Trenton BIC have some Sunday brunch ball against the 8th-seeded New Jersey Hawks. For the BIC, all roads lead back to the championship as the defending Eastern Conference title holders look for redemption following the shocking 2024 A7FL final against the Las Vegas Insomniacs. Walking into the 2025 season, Trenton BIC General Manager Kenny Stansberry went shopping for talent outside New Jersey and had some key pickups in Mark Bagway and Deontay Henderson, but he already had championship ingredients at his disposal. Sterry Codrington, Kason Campbell, and Ashante Worthy have all made cases this season for not only Offensive Player of the Year, but Most Valuable Player, as each man has replicated, if not broken, some version of their own record, including Campbell's 4-touchdown duel with Manny Diaz and the Animals BIC matchup earlier this season, which felt like a presumptive preview of an Eastern Conference final. And of the 22 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions Codrington has thrown in the regular season. That is right, Codrington went through the entire regular season throwing 0 interceptions and 22 passing touchdowns. All but 10 of those tutties have gone to Kason Campbell, whose 12 touchdowns on the year made up 40% of his receptions, and Ashante Worthy, 38.9% of his receptions have been for touchdowns, right behind Campbell. But even with the homegrown harvest blooming for the BIC, they not only add Bagway and Henderson, who we've yet to see so far this season, they have added DPOY candidate and former DPOY and an all-decade player in Isaac Negron, who alongside a fellow big decade player, Big Mo Ramadan, two guys who have played for the Patterson U last year. Isaac was on the Snow Tribe, but adding some championship-level depth in the trenches for the BIC, Negron with 6 sacks so far on the season has certainly set himself up for a DPOY campaign for sure. The Hawks feature championship experience themselves in Amir Chick Morris, but with injury and age becoming a factor for the man who looked to show his skills beyond an all-decade defensive back, he and the Hawks were unable to soar as high as they would have liked to in 2025. But despite being the 8th seed in our Eastern playoff, the Hawks have certainly had some bright spots, especially with running back Delron Simmons, whose Week 1 performance set a standard that is not only hard to meet, but each week we see a new level of passion and persistence from the man running the ball and running down opposing players that has made him a fan favorite and someone to watch for seasons to come. And then we get to their quarterback, Corey Hammond, who finds himself at a crossroads walking into our 11th national playoff and fighting through another slate of injuries. The question for Hammond is not just whether will the Hawks win or will the Hawks lose. Is this the end, the last stand for the gunslinger? One never knows what tomorrow will bring. One never knows what tune it will sing, but we stand on the horizon of a momentous day in the A7FL. We just say, we'll try. Now let's take a look out west in the A7FL as we are in the Nevada knockout round. At the top of the Nevada division, you're defending back-to-back A7FL champion Las Vegas Insomniacs. They walk into this week 5-0, and they have only allowed 24 points on the season. Right behind them, the Las Vegas Sick-Witted team that is 4-1. Their only loss on the season coming to the Insomniacs. The Stealth, who have losses to Sick-Witted and the Insomniacs, rocking at 4-2. And then at the bottom of the bin, the Vegas Gold at 1-5. Giving up a league-leading 303 points on the season, and below them, the Vegas Hunters, who are 0-6, and on the outside looking in at a chance of making it to the Western Conference Finals. Let's take a look at our schedule this week in the A7FL Western Conference at 1 p.m. Pacific time. The Gold will battle Sick-Witted, and in our 4 o'clock matchup, that's 7 p.m. Eastern, that is immediately following Renegades and Crush. This game will be on A7FL.TV. The Vegas Hunters battle the defending champion Las Vegas Insomniacs. And folks, let me tell you, the Insomniacs this year, they have reloaded. They have gotten better. That's the shocking thing, is that they already were great. They already had the team that went back-to-back, that fought two of the best teams we've ever seen in this league, in the Nightcrawlers in 23 and the BIC in 24. With young talent, you've got Prime Time, you've got Juice in his second season. You have a lot of youthful talent on that Insomniacs team. So if a time comes where Scooter, RTC, and company go back to just full-time coaching and running around in Flag, the future might be healthy for the Insomniacs. Don't know if they'll have the same level of dominance, but they certainly have set the standard in recruiting out west. But I want to hear your thoughts on this. Go to a7fl.com/chat. That's a7fl.com/chat. And download Locker Room Chat. Download that today. Join us on a7fl.com/chat. Give us your thoughts on what you think the A7FL Final Four, the Final Four teams, 2 from the West, 2 in the East, are going to be. And also, we want to hear from you on social media. I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Follow the A7FL on all social media platforms. Just search the A7FL on your favorite platform, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or X. We've got you covered. Head on over right now. And for all of us here at the A7FL, I'm Matt Ryan. We are on the road to the playoffs. Until next time, we'll see you on the field. This has been In Motion.